Hello everyone. Good morning. Yes, my voice is clear.
Yes,
Okay. So today we'll be starting with next model. Before that, let me introduce again a basic revision. Okay, what exactly we have seen so far. So in the last week, we have started with software testing content and where we have started with the first module, which is fundamentals of software testing. Okay, so we have completed the basics, like what testing it is, when we can start testing, okay, what are the good practices or best practices for testing, the main objective between tester, developer, and even software testing, correct. Then we have learned in second module testing principle. So basically we have 7 principles to follow, right? And those principles also we have completed, like testing is like early testing save time and money, exhaustive testing is impossible, testing is context dependent, defect clusters together, pesticide, be aware of pesticide paradox. Then we have seen testing shows always presence of defect, not their absence. And the last principle that we have learned, which is all about testing is a simple, like what we can say, like quality. Every application we should test as per the quality, right? So just finding and identifying the defect from the software application, and even though that software is not maintaining the quality, then there is a completely waste of time. So absence of error, it is a fallacy. That is our last principle, correct. So these are the 7 principle you have to follow complete throughout a complete life cycle. And then in third module we have just started with what exactly development cycle it is, how many different phases are there in the development cycle. So we have learned there are 6 phases: requirement gathering analysis, design phase, development phase, testing phase, deployment, and the maintenance. And based on the same cycle, now we are learning different approaches in this real IT market. So currently there is a IT world is completely based on agile, correct. But before understanding what agile it is, we are learning some other methodologies too. So very first, when IT came into the market, at that time there were one methodology available that is called waterfall. Still, for a smaller application, for a simple application, we use waterfall methodology. So guys, we have seen in the last session, in SDLC there are 2 approaches, correct? Just a minute. Hmm. So for SDLC, there are 2 approaches available. First is sequential. So where we can design and develop the software application in a sequential manner. And second is incremental. So in incremental and sequential, how many different models actually comes? So guys, first step is waterfall. Waterfall was the first methodology which is available in IT. Based on waterfall, as they notice, waterfall means application we can develop in a sequence, one by one, correct? So very first phase will complete, and after that only we can move to the next phase. And it is very rigid. Here, application, we can start from the requirement phase. Whenever requirement completed, then we can go with next phase and so on. At the end only, we can deliver a product to the customer. So even customer is not involved in this complete cycle. In waterfall methodology, changes are not welcome. If you try to update anything in between the process, that that will impact on a complete life cycle. Correct now? So we can't turn back. Simple. Overlapping between the phases not allowed, and it is not possible to turning back. But later on, what they do, they simply created incremental approach, where in incremental first methodology we have seen, which is called incremental and iterative methodology. So here what we have learned, basically we can divide this given set of requirement into multiple increment. And every increment is nothing but what? It's a build, executable file or executable, we can say product. And every increment, we follow same life cycle, software development life cycle. So divide the complete set of requirement into multiple set of requirements, and then live, we can say phase by phase, we can develop the software application. But in incremental approach, every build, it simply release. new feature along with the previous feature. So every build will simple add some new requirement to the previous field or previous build. Correct? And that's the reason incremental in this regression testing is very common, right? So here, what is the benefit? Suddenly, suppose customer wants to make some update. It is possible. In incremental methodology, we are able to make the changes in the product, right? Even we can add that new feature anywhere in the life cycle. So changes are welcome in incremental, but changes are not welcome in waterfall methodology. So whenever customer is not clear about his requirement, right? Maybe customer can update certain requirement in middle of the project. Then we can go with incremental approach. What the second methodology we have seen? Based on incremental, previously we use prototype also. Best benefit of prototype is what? You will get always quality product. How come? First of all, based on requirement, dummy get developed. And if the dummy is agreed by the customer, then only we can implement a final product. So prototype methodology, it was again previously available. Nowadays, we don't follow it because it is time consuming process, right? But because of the prototype and waterfall, they invent one more methodology, which is spiral. What spiral it is? That was our last methodology that we have covered. Spiral means application get developed into same in a rigid step, only one by one phases will proceed. But spiral is the best practice for developing product, because whenever you have some long going application, let's say any complex application, and where the risk analysis is important to focus, then we can follow spiral methodology. So this is a one methodology where we have all the, we can say, you know, risk analysis phase, and where we can first concentrate on the risk analysis of the project, and then we can implement the same. So in spiral also, each and every SDLC life cycle or phase simply executed, but spiral is divided into four different phases. First is planning, second is risk analysis, third is engineering activity, and last one is evaluation. So because of shape, name is a spiral. But this is somehow costly model. Why costly? Because cost of the spiral, it is completely based on the duration and the second point, risk analysis activity. So this is what we have seen in incremental methodology. But guys, what they notice in waterfall, even in incremental, prototype and spiral, there were previously testing is considered as a only and only one phase. But later they got to know that, okay, testing is a main phase. If we start testing late, we identify defect late in the life cycle. And then there are a lot of issues. Because when we start fixing it, automatically cost and time get increased. So what is the best practice to follow? We can start testing right from the requirement. So after spiral, they invent one more methodology that is called V. And guys, why V is important to learn? Because V is the only one methodology which will help you to importance, or which simply emphasize more and more on testing activities, testing process. So testing importance becomes in the market. Okay, it's a very crucial becomes in the market because of V methodology. So it is important to know what is V. But the problem with V is what? They evolve V methodology based on sequential approach only. So actually based on waterfall, they develop V methodology. But this is very special, very important, because once you understand V methodology, it will be very easy to understand different types, process of software testing. Correct? And after that, after V, we'll be learning which methodology. Here in incremental, we are going to start with Agile, which is the main methodology which is we need to cover. So first point, guys, let's start with V methodology. So V model, or we can just call it as V methodology. Okay, again, what is why the name is V? First point, it is because of shape. So how they invent, how they develop this methodology, let's observe. V says, first point, it is evolved from the waterfall methodology. So phases are again rigid, one by one. So very first requirement gathering, then design, then development. Finally, we can go for testing, right? But in V, after development, we can't start testing. In V methodology, we can start testing right from the requirement itself. The benefit is what? we emphasize testing process more and more in this particular software development. So during development, we can do testing. That is the main objective of V methodology. But how come? How it is possible? How we can simple during development, or how testing and development goes parallelly? We need to understand that part through the V model. So let me start with what is V methodology and how exactly we can work with V. So very first, you will be having user requirement, right? Based on the user requirement, as we have seen, whenever you receive user requirements, very first BA will prepare here certain documentation. Consider these are the user requirements and you will be having URS documentation by the BA. Then these requirements get divided into other requirement set. Like some requirement we design separately as a functional requirement. Then we have a software requirement, correct? So based on the user requirement, there are software requirement or system requirement, correct? So here you will get which document? See, suppose here it is a URS document. Here you will get SRS document, correct? And based on SRS, we can have again design phase, which is divided into two different types. So first of all, here we have high level design, HLD, and then we have low level design, correct? LLD. And once we design phase is completed, then we have coding, right? So here come developer into picture and they develop the code. Okay. Now just understand what is happening practically when it start with V. So first of all, BA comes and BA collect all the requirement. At the same time, based on the requirement only, your test manager, guys, now in testing field, test manager is a main entity who is responsible to prepare a test plan. So if you have a test plan document with you, then only you will understand the complete roadmap for a software testing, like how to do, when to start, okay, which model to be focused first. All the detail will be available in test plan document. So very first, test manager is responsible at this level only. Create acceptance test plan. Do remember, test manager create acceptance test plan. Okay. Similarly, based on the system requirement, test manager prepare system test plan. Okay. Based on high level design, what is a high level? High level describe the relationship or integration between the module. It's the overall architectural design for a software. So based on high level, manager prepare integration test plan. So test planning, it is a basically responsibility of a test manager. That is what I'm trying to explain. So low level design, again low level defines internal mechanism of the software, like what is the data flow, what is the control flow, right? And based on that, your manager is responsible to design unit test plan. So what is the purpose of this test plan? As I told you, V is the only one module where we can start testing right from the development phase. So guys, this is our development phase, right? Whatever the left-hand cycle I have designed till coding, this is all the development process or development cycle. Now what and how we can start testing? Here come QA team. How they start testing? Very first, you guys are responsible. Whatever documentation generated from these phases, you are responsible to review documents. Okay, so as I told you, how we can start testing right from the requirement. First step, whatever documentations are there, review and understand those documents. If you notice any issue within that document, you can update to the author of that document, and that person, example BA, is responsible here at 2 level. After that, it is a system architect. Here come developer. If you notice problem with the development document, so here you will be getting design document, here also design document, and here also code related document. And if you notice problem in code, so you can ask a developer to make the changes in that document. Yes, that is called review. So we can just go through the document, we can identify the location of the defect, and we can ask that author to fix it. But similarly, only review is not your task. Once you have a requirement, second step, what you will do, refer or follow test plan document. What you need to follow, guys? You are going to follow this test plan document. Based on test planning, you will prepare scenarios for testing. Now, first of all, what do you mean by test scenario? Always remember, test scenario means some high level feature of the application or what to test from the software application when you list out. That is called test scenario. Means what? Suppose if you take any application, let's take WhatsApp. So what you can test from the WhatsApp? Whatever important features you are writing. Suppose I can test WhatsApp call, I can test WhatsApp status, I can test WhatsApp, let's say what we can say contacts, like how we are able to connect with the people and chat with the people, right? Even I can test the WhatsApp attachment. Okay, how to pay any money from the WhatsApp. So there is a separate option available in the WhatsApp, right? Where you can make a payment also. So these things we can test from the WhatsApp application. Even from the base, I can start how we can download WhatsApp, how we can install it on the device, and how we can simple set the profile too. So all these things, whenever you just list out, that is called scenario. So in short, what is scenario? Scenario describe what to test from software application. Now for same scenario, what is your responsibility? Prepare test cases. Okay, so guys, this is your main role. You need to understand in software testing, in manual testing, how to prepare test cases. So this is what, how to test. It describe how to test that particular functionality. In scenario, suppose I'm writing, I want to test login. But how to test that login, that you will describe in the test case document. Are you getting my point? So as a tester, you are responsible to review the document, refer the plan, create your scenario, create your test cases. So this same process you'll be following till the coding. For every phase document you will refer and you will prepare, you will conduct your testing. Are you getting my point? But here try to understand till development, we can't execute anything. That's the reason. This is the left arm of the V model where we can only and only follow static testing, which is in software testing term we can call, this is verification. Correct now? Verification where we can verify the document and we can identify the defect. But we can't perform any execution here. We just go through the document, understand it, and we identify the defect. So as a tester, from every phase of the development, we can just start with the review. So I can review requirement document, I can review system documents, high level design, low level design, and the coding too. That's the reason this is a left arm of V model, which is just called as, like, tester can perform review for every phase of the development. But just to implement this shape of V, that's the reason after coding, they have, simple change or they have simple prepare. The life cycle or the testing phases, they have bent upward just to maintain the V shape. Means after coding, what is the first level here? Here we always follow unit testing. The first level testing is divided into 4 levels. First level is unit testing, which we have already discussed. Whenever developer write the logic, developer has to test that logic independently. So guys, smallest part of the application, whenever it is tested in isolation, that is called unit testing. And it is actually responsibility of a developer. So developer write the code, developer pass the input, developer test it. And you know what? At the time of unit testing, developer follow the plan which is designed at this, requirement or at this particular development phase. So here based on unit testing or unit test plan, developer perform unit testing. After unit testing, based on the architectural plan defined by the tester, I mean tester manager, tester and developer both can go for integration plan. So here comes integration testing. And both the plan, the whatever plan it is, they follow and they do testing. So here it is a responsibility of a developer and tester. So what is integration testing? Combining two or more module together and test their relation. That is called integration testing. So whenever we combine multiple module together, finally you will get a system only, correct? So by referring the system test plan, here the third phase available, which is called system testing. And whose responsibility it is? So always remember, system testing done only and only by the tester, either independent tester or specialized tester, right? Why specialize? Because system testing, it is a process where we can test software application by its functionality as well as non-functionality. So when it comes to the functionality, independent tester can do functional testing. But to do non-functional testing means quality attribute, right? Somewhere you are testing security of the application. Somewhere you are testing performance of the software application. There comes, you know, individual, or we need some specialized tester. That's the reason system testing where developer is not involved, it is only conducted by the tester. And after system testing, at the end, who will test the application? See, whenever you are ready with the system testing, there is a last level available which is called UAT, which is done by the end user or customer. Remember. So here customer can validate a software application as per the acceptance test plan. So guys, what you can see, currently this is a shape which is a V shape. Hence this model known as V model. Second point, in V model, at every phase of development, we can start testing. We can do testing. How it is? Till coding, we can verify all the document. That is the process called review. So review is a testing process that we follow till coding. And once coding completed, we can go for dynamic testing, where we can perform input, we can pass a input, we can check the output. So this is your dynamic testing. And this is technical word which is called validation, because testers are responsible to validate software application. And this is your V methodology. But what is the problem with V? V is developed based on waterfall. Means all the phases are rigid. After one phase only completed, we can move to the next phase. So what is happening in this life cycle? First phase is user requirement. Whenever BA prepares document, whenever documents get reviewed by the tester, if everything is okay, then only we can move to the next phase. Whenever system requirement prepared, whenever it get reviews, right, then only we can continue with the testing or next phase. But the point is, plus point is what? During every phase of development, we can perform software testing. And that's the reason we can start reviewing all the documents. So guys, first step, left arm of the V, if I just partition it, so left arm of the V, it is completely development approach, where we can develop the software application, right? And during development, tester can test the application like by reviewing all the documents. This is the first point you need to remember. What is the second point? At the right hand side, if you observe, after coding only we can perform execution. For that reason, right arm of V model, it is called validation. Left arm of V model, it is called verification. Because here we can't perform any execution. It is just we are reviewing the document and we are preparing test cases. First point is clear. But as I told you, it is based on waterfall, so only and only it is applicable for smaller application. So you can't develop large application, complex application using V methodology. The best part is we can do testing starting right from the requirement till release. But the problem with this methodology is what? Somewhere you are here. Let's consider design phase is completed. And if now customer wants to add some more feature in the software, it is not possible. Means like a waterfall, changes are not welcome in V methodology also. We are not able to make the change in V methodology because of waterfall, because of rigidity like a waterfall. I hope it is clear. Got it? What is V? So few key points what you need to remember. What is V first? It is evolved from the waterfall. Each phase must be completed before the next phase begin. Instead of moving down in a linear way, like a waterfall, only the process steps upward or bend upward after the coding phase, just to form typical V shape. So testing emphasize in this model more than waterfall model. Why? Because at every phase of the development, we can simple perform testing. So it is structured approach of testing and brings high quality into development of our product, because we do testing right from the requirement and we continue it till the release. That's the reason at the end you'll be getting a quality application. So this is your V model. Very first, application get developed, but for every phase of development, we can have a testing phase. And process got upward bent after coding phase just to form typical V shape. And as I told you, here development testing goes parallelly. How come? It's not like that whenever user requirement develop. Similarly, at the same time, we can do acceptance testing. No, the process only like this only, right? After requirement, software, then high level, then low level, finally coding, and then only we are doing this process. But at the time of unit testing, integration, what we can do, we can refer this plan. So development testing definitely goes parallelly, but it is here. Like after document, we can do review. So this is called verification. Left arm of V is called verification and right arm of V is called validation. This is your V methodology. Now guys, what are the benefits of V? What do you think? So obviously V is developed by waterfall or based on waterfall, but it has a benefit. First benefit is we emphasize testing importance more, correct, than other methodology. Means basically we can start testing right from the requirement, we can continue till the release. So what are the benefit of early testing? What we have learned? If we start testing early, you identify defect early. That will help you to fix the defect early in the life cycle. So identification is possible early. Fixing also possible early. So automatically it will save your time. It will save your money. Correct? Even if one defect have a tendency that if you don't resolve it, there might be problem with that you might get multiple number of defect in later phases of SDLC. So defect clustering will happen. But somewhere if you do verification, means from every phase if you start testing, automatically you are able to remove this defect multiplication. So guys, verification help you to prevent the defect early in the life cycle. Even we can detect defect early. We can avoid fault multiplication or defect multiplication in the later phases of development. Why or how it is so? Because we do testing starting from the requirement itself. So we have benefits to follow. First point, what are the strengths? Strength are very simple, like it is very simple methodology like a waterfall only. So every phase it has a specific deliverable, means document, and it also works small, for smaller application where requirements are clearly understood. Plus understand one more point, like a waterfall, all the strengths are applicable here. It is also good for management, planning and staffing, right? Simple and easy to use model. And one more thing, it will only applicable for a smaller application. You can't develop large application using V. What is another point? Because of V, where we start testing right from the requirement phase. So at the end, you'll be getting quality application only, right? So you can see simple and easy, higher chance of success over the waterfall due to the development of test plan early on during the test life cycle. Because in waterfall, after development, we start testing practically, correct? But in V, at the time of requirement only, we can start testing. Nowadays, any model, if you follow, we have to follow the rule only. We should start testing right from the requirement and we should continue till the release. So verification and validation at every phase, okay, of the product in early stage of the product development. So we guys are able to verify and validate also software application early in the life cycle. But what are the weakness? First point, it is very rigid like a waterfall, right? So one by one phases only proceed. Second point, software is developed during development phase. So no early prototype you will get. Means we can't release in between any software application to the customer. Customer is only involved at the beginning and at the end of the life cycle. To remember that. Even it does not handle any dynamic changes. Correct now? So requirement must be stable. Then only we can follow V. right? You will get quality product, but the problem is requirement must be stable. If there are dynamic changes in the requirement, we can't use this methodology. And even it does not have any kind of risk analysis process. So risk analysis is the only feature available in spiral methodology. Remember. So the main point, what are the benefits of V? First benefit, faults are prevented. Defects, faults are nothing but defects are prevented, and it stops fault multiplication. It avoids downward flow of the defect. Lower defect resolution cost due to earlier detection. Yes, if you start early, it will save your time, it will save your money. Even it improve quality and reliability. Reduction in amount of rework. Yes, if you start early, right? And if you found notice any defect and it got fixed only, then no need to go for rework, right? So that's the reason reduction amount of rework. Then validation at every stage of contentment means for every verification, for every phase of development, we do testing. So we validate a software application into 4 levels. And so we have a levels of testing in particular software testing: unit, integration, system, and user acceptance. So it allows tester to do active in the project early in the life cycle and develop critical knowledge about the system. So because we do early testing, tester can involve early in the life cycle, and starting from the requirement only, you can start testing that software application. So got the concept what is a V methodology and what are the point to be remembered for V? Yes. So in the interview, it is very famous. People might ask you what is V and how exactly in V process goes on. So one more time I'm repeating, you need to answer in the same way. First point, V is evolved from the waterfall. So it is similar like a waterfall, only phases are one by one only proceed. But in V model, for every development phase, okay, at the time of every development phase, we can conduct software testing. So starting from the requirement till release, we do testing. In V model, because of shape, its name has V. Second point you can explain. In V model, left arm indicates verification. Correct? Left arm indicates verification process. Right arm indicates validation. So till the development, we can just review the document. After development, we can actually perform execution. And so how we execute? You need to answer. In V methodology, level wise we do testing. So unit testing, integration, system, and acceptance testing. These are the 4 levels we have under validation. Best part or best important point that you can discuss, V model helps you to prevent the defect. V model helps you to identify defect early in the life cycle, but it is rigid like a waterfall. So changes are not welcome. If you try to make changes in the any phase in between the process, it will kill the whole project. Remember. So V is also applicable like a waterfall only for a smaller application. That's it. These points are enough to discuss, and you can prepare this diagram too. Okay, while explanation, if you go for interview and face-to-face interview is there, and if they ask you what is V, please explain through the process. Okay. Now tell me, any doubt in V methodology? It's clear, right? Okay,
Yes.
because yeah, because after this we'll be starting with the real-time scenario, which is very popular in real-time, Agile. What exactly Agile methodology it is, how we work in Agile, and so many things we need to understand here. Okay. So first point, let me continue with the topic Agile. What is Agile methodology? So guys, as I told you, V model they invent, but V is a part of sequential methodology. So later on, what they notice that fine, we are able to develop the software application using V. Even early we can start testing. But what is the problem with V? V is rigid like a waterfall. So somewhere dynamic changes we are not able to implement or we are not able to handle in V methodology. And for that reason, as per the incremental model, they design agile methodology. First point, what is agile? Guys, this is a term which means is agile means ability to change. Remember, ability to change. Now these changes, where exactly we are able to make the changes? See, agile is completely iterative approach. First point is completely iterative approach. So we are able to develop the software application in a multiple iteration. Okay? In agile, in fact, in shorter cycle, we can implement the software. Shorter cycle means what? See, normally, if any project, if you want to implement, it takes month, it takes year, like 6 month project, 8 month project, sometimes 1 year, 2 year. That is a basic duration. And within that duration, we have to implement the software. But what is the agile practice? In agile, it doesn't focus on any process, any planning, or any kind of documentation, guys. Agile directly focus on the customer points. Means as per the customer need, whatever customer demand, those requirements we will implement in a shorter cycle and we will easily release it. The shorter cycle means hardly in 1 week to 4 week. We can design, develop, and test the software and we can release also. Now just think, in a shorter frame, we are able to implement a software application, how quickly it is, and how much efforts we need to take to design, develop software application within a week. Correct? So agile is a best practice. Why? Because agile is simply following customer values. Second point, in agile, in a shorter frame, we are able to implement and we are able to release the software application. One more point. This is a methodology which is used for software development, right? Software development. Also, this methodology we can follow for project, okay? Project development, or what we can say, project management. So guys, it's not only development part, but along with the development, we can handle management process also. Means somewhere I want to manage my team. Okay. I want to manage my projects. Suppose I'm working on multiple projects. So that complete team management, project management, entire process management, I can do with the help of Agile. So why Agile is so popular? Because in Agile, we don't rely on certain documents. Okay. What we rely? We directly rely on a practice. Do that particular task, complete your application, and we can easily release. So whenever customer is involved in Agile, basically in Agile, the best part is what? Your customer is involved at every phase of development. So far what we have learned, customer involved at the beginning and at the last, at the end, correct? In waterfall, in V model, customer involved in beginning, customer involved at the end only. In incremental approach, build wise customer get involved. Whenever next build to be introduced, customer get involved. But in Agile, that is not the picture. In Agile, your customer is involved in every phase of the development. Means starting from the requirement gathering till the release, customer is involved in every phase of development cycle. And you know, that's the reason Agile is become very, very popular. Because in Agile, first point, your customer is involved. So definitely you will get from every phase a quality product only. Even we are able to design, develop software application in a shorter time frame. So guys, best practice where we can follow Agile. For every time critical application, we use Agile. Okay. Nowadays, you can see stock market changes, right? For every fraction second, for every fraction of time, you will be getting some update. Like Amazon. Somewhere for Amazon, daily you will get certain updates for a product. Maybe sometimes price can be low, price can be high. So how it is possible? How we guys are able to see the daily updates in particular software application? It is because of Agile methodology. So whenever time is important or for every time critical application, the software application design developed using Agile. So first point, Agile is a methodology. Okay, it is a best practice where you need to implement software application in a shorter time frame. Correct? Second, it is a iterative approach only. Means we don't follow sequential way. Complete software application we divide into multiple iteration. And iteration by iteration, we design, develop, and test. high quality application. The best part is in Agile, we have certain rules to be followed, certain guideline to be followed. Because Agile do not follow certain document planning, nothing. Okay. It mainly focus on the customer value. Whatever customer demand, to complete it and to release it. So that customer will definitely get quality application. Nowadays in IT, all type of application we generally implement using Agile. In Agile, you are able to track the process also. So for Agile practice, we'll be covering Jira tool, where you will understand in Jira how we can simple make the changes or how we can track those changes. Correct? So first point, what is a theory? Just have a look. Agile model, or this is a agile development, which is a model, and it is also type of incremental model. Okay, because in multiple iteration, we develop the software application. Agile is a iterative approach for project management as well as software development, and that helps team to deliver value to their customer faster. So in a short time frame, we design, develop, and test the application, and we deliver a project to the customer or product to the customer in a faster way. So software is developed in incremental and rapid cycle. Incremental, okay, that in multiple cycle you will be delivering the software. But rapid, why it is so? Why agile is faster? Because hardly in a weeks you guys are able to design, develop, and test and release application too. So it is a faster development. So it is very popular. Next, this result in small increment, each release building on a previous functionality. Okay, so whenever we have an increment, what is the style of development? See, suppose total I'm having 10 requirement. Okay, first as per the priority of the customer, it is decided that first we will release only 5 requirement. After 5 requirement, okay, we'll be implementing second iteration. In second iteration, I will be implementing 5 requirement. But this is my build number 1, correct? And this is my build number 2. Whenever you release second release, build number 2, automatically build number 2 means what? It is nothing but previous build number 1 plus new 5 requirement. So every build added some feature to the previous build, correct? And for that reason, the point is written. This result in small incremental release with each release building on previous functionality. Means we are updating new feature to the previous functionality, correct? And each release in Agile, it is thoroughly tested. So guys, see this point. Each release in Agile, it is thoroughly tested to ensure that software quality is maintained. And it is used for what type of application? So it is used for time critical application. In general, what is the Agile process? Where a developer, tester, even your BA, customer, all the people get involved in the life cycle. It is not like a waterfall, one by one phases. So at every phase, customer is involved. So basic cycle is what? Again, it follows development process only, correct now? So we have requirement gathering analysis phase. So very first as a tester, you can understand the requirement. Here in the brainstorm session, brainstorm means it's kind of discussion where the every team member get involved. BA, developer, even your customer and the QA. They will have a common understanding about the application. Finally, application get designed, application get developed. We can take a feedback from the customer. So whenever it is developed at the same time, tester can test the application, tester can identify defect, and tester can provide a detail to the developer for fixing it. After fixing again, we can confirm application is a quality one. Then final installation setup we can test on customer platform and we can deliver a product to the customer. So life cycle follow the same rule or same process. But only the change is instead of performing separate process by separate team member, here these team member get involved in every phase of the life cycle. Okay, so developer tester, they don't do parallel process. Basically, what we can say, it's not like that development and side by side testing we are doing. At the beginning itself, everybody is involved. So at the beginning of the phase, developer, tester, other team member get involved and they complete that entire process. So here developer tester, even customer, even BA, they concurrently they are doing and constantly they are taking a feedback from the customer and they are making the change in the software application. And so agile development is very, very famous, very, very popular. But as I told you, it focus on certain rule. So what rule are? That rule in terms of agile called Agile Manifesto. Agile Manifesto means agile methodology rules, certain guideline. Let's understand what guideline are those. First guideline. In agile methodology, individual and interaction over the process and tool. Means agile methodology focus on actual practice. It doesn't focus on the process or tool. Okay, so we don't maintain any planning, nothing. What is the main process? Okay, we are going to develop the software application, right? So once you get the requirement from the BA, developer tester both will have a common understanding. Immediately developers start developing. At the same time, testers start testing, right? So we have individual and interaction over the process. The best part is communication, guys. We have a common, we can say like in between the team, we should have a constant communication in between the team. Even we can communicate with our customer if any point is not clear. Okay, so individual interaction is more focused in agile process rather than any process, rather than any tool. Second point, working software over comprehensive document. So we don't waste our time to maintain lot of document. Like in other methodology, documentation is important, right? But in agile, we don't focus more and more document. If you clear with the requirements, start developing, start testing and release it. So working software you will get quickly. Okay? Because we don't focus on the entire plan or proper document. So somewhere documentation, limited documentation we have, and we can start our work, we can complete the task. The best part in agile, customer involvement is throughout the life cycle. So it is simple manifesto, customer collaboration over a contract negotiation. So in previous methodology, customer is only involved during the contract, right? But later phases of SDLC, customer is not involved. But in agile, for every phase of the development cycle, customer is involved. So you will get a constant feedback from the customer, and based on that, we can update a software. So customer collaboration is more, not only till contract negotiation, customer is involved throughout the life cycle. And the next process is what? Next manifesto, responding to change over a following plan. So why we don't create a proper plan? Because guys, tomorrow there is a possibility at any particular build, if customer asks you to maintain or perform some changes, we should immediately follow those changes. So even though if you create a plan, what is the use of that plan, right? Because we are developing, we are releasing software application as per the customer need. So the best practice is we don't make here a complete or thoroughly plan. With minimum planning, you can start your work. No need to go for complete thoroughly plan, or you can immediately prepare application as per the changes given by the customer and we can release the same. So these are the principle, these are the rules which agile methodology follow. So guys, first point, what is agile? Ability to change something. So this is incremental iterative model. As per the given change of the customer, immediately we can update. But why agile is so special? First point, first is it is incremental. Whenever there are dynamic changes, we can easily implement it. Customer is involved throughout the life cycle. Even everybody they do collaboration or collaborative work. Developer, BA, tester, everybody involved. So we release or we get a software application faster in a short time frame. Hardly in a weeks, you are able to observe, you are able to use your software application. That's the agile. That's the reason agile is very popular. We don't focus on planning or entire documentation. With the limited documentation also, you can continue your work. And because of customer collaboration, you will get constantly feedback. And based on that, we can continue our process. But in real time, okay, agile methodology, it has multiple framework. Guys, now the new term framework. Framework means it's a process or it is a ready-made architecture. Based on this architecture, which has its own rule, own set of guidelines, and we are going to follow the guideline to implement our software. So which framework is popular in Agile? Basically, there are different names. Let's say we have a Scrum framework to follow. We have Kanban framework to follow. We have extreme programming to follow, right? So these three are very much popular. But for development that we use or we follow in IT, that is called Scrum framework. So it is time to understand what exactly Scrum it is, how Agile works for a Scrum framework, and how exactly process goes on, right? The first point we have just discussed what Agile it is and what are the rule for Agile. Now it is time to understand this is a main framework that we follow in Agile development. So first point, before understanding Scrum, you should know few terminology. Okay. So far in development cycle, we called requirement. Whenever BA gathers some requirement from the customer, those are just the client requirement. Now in Agile term, first thing, what terms you need to understand for Agile? In Agile terminology, same set of requirements guides. Requirements are called simple user story. So what is user story in Agile? It is just a requirement. Okay. But we can have a big user story or big story that is we can call epic. So first of all, there is a one more term epic. What this epic means? Epic is a big story. Epic is a big story that we can implement by dividing into multiple chunk of story. Means what? Take a simple example. Like, okay, requirement could be anything, right? So I'm having epic is what? Like design design payment gateway for Amazon. Now tell me, what requirement we have? Suppose we have a customer requirement, we need to design, develop payment gateway for Amazon. So payment gateway means how many different ways are there that user can simple follow to make the payment? Now you tell me how we can design, develop. Is it possible? Can I write only one feature? Okay, fine. User can simply pay the particular payment for the product using net banking. No. Now we have a lot of options to make a payment. Correct now? What is the first option? See, list out certain option through which we can make a payment. Guys, we can do net banking. Okay, fine. What else? We can use credit card to make the payment. Yes. Even we can use debit card. Yes. What
UPI,
else? UPI. Correct. What else? In
cash on
Amazon
delivery.
now we have na Amazon Pay also, right? They have their own application, Amazon Pay. Even we can do cash on delivery. Easy. So now tell me, suppose you are a complete IT team now. Okay, we have developer, tester, everybody is involved in this team. And you got this requirement from the customer that design and develop payment gateway for Amazon. So it's not a one process, right? Can I call user story or I should call it as epic? Tell me. If I say user story, then I will say cash on delivery. Just design one process. Okay, cash on delivery is one requirement. Even I can write, okay, fine. UPI is a one requirement. So user requirement and epic, what is the difference? User requirement or user story, it is just a one functionality which you are going to implement. But epic means big story. Big story, to implement that story, we can divide first that story into multiple steps or into multiple user story, right? And then we can implement it. Are you getting my point? What is the main difference between epic and simple user story? User story means एक requirement, right? But epic simple define big requirement, some set of requirement we can implement. That is called epic. So here the best example is for epic, design, develop payment gateway for Amazon. That is a epic. Why? Because this requirement we can't implement directly. We have to divide it into multiple chunks. We have to divide it into multiple chunks of requirement, and then every requirement we can design, develop, and test separate. So are you getting my point? In agile terminology, requirements called user story. but somewhere you found a big requirement, big story, which you can implement by making or by simply dividing it into multiple chunk of story. Then it is called epic. I hope it is clear. An example is also clear, right? So why we are discussing user story and equip? Because we don't have here term requirement in Agile. Okay, when you start working in IT, you will get, okay, fine, you are responsible to understand user story. What does mean? User story is nothing but requirement only you are reviewing. Are you getting my point? So process remains same, but some terminology you need to learn newly. So in Agile terminology, every requirement is called user story, the story given by the user. And somewhere we have a big requirement, big story, then we can call it as epic. Now the one more term, who is responsible to collect epic and the stories from the user? So technically what we have learned, be a person. But now in Agile methodology, that profile called product owner. So sometimes product owner, it is nothing but technically it is a BA only, but the profile name is different. In Agile terms, product owner is responsible to collect the stories, epic from the user, and product owner is responsible to maintain everything in the backlog. Okay, so he is a person, he or she that they can simple gather the stories, epic from the user, and they maintain everything somewhere in a container, which is called product backlog. So guys, one more term, backlog. It is like a container storage area, we can say, where they can maintain every story and the epic. So what is the responsibility of owner? Not only maintain the story and epic in the backlog, to validate also. Which story is a valid, which is not valid. Okay, that decision will be taken care by the product owner. So basically it is called analysis, right? Who will analyze that stories are complete stories, stories are valid story. This is the responsibility of a product owner only. Clear? So first point, you need to understand what is user story. Second, you need to understand what exactly epic, who is responsible to collect the story and where exactly he will maintain, he or she. So obviously product backlog. So guys, this is we are discussing Scrum. So in Scrum, let's understand to run this entire project. How many teams? What is agile team member? How many members get involved? The first very important member, product owner. Just now I have discussed. Owner is the main person who can communicate with the customer. So sometimes we can call it as customer side person who will communicate with the customer, who will collect all the stories. Okay, all the epic. And he will maintain everything in the backlog. Okay, great. Now the one more thing. The agile development or agile team includes development team. Guys, development team doesn't mean only developer. Please understand, in IT, development team means the every technical user. It could be developer, tester, design team, everybody. Those are responsible to develop and test that software application. So I'm writing development team. So development team includes developer, QA person, even your technical team, right? Or somewhere we can call system architect. All the people get involved who design the software, develop the software, test the software. Third, in agile team, the important entity, the role, profile, that is called Scrum Master. Okay. Scrum Master is the main role. This is the main responsibility in agile. Okay, what is and who is Scrum Master? So basically it's like a manager. Okay, Scrum Master work like a manager. That manager can track, okay, entire process, whatever you are developing, testing, or how exactly on time you are delivering the product to the customer. So basically Scrum Master is a driver who drive entire agile process. In a simple word, so tomorrow you are working with the agile team, to whom you are going to report. Okay, fine. Whatever task you have completed, to whom you are reporting it? To your Scrum Master. So everything, whatever it is happening in that process, you will reporting everything to the Scrum Master. Scrum Master is responsible to track entire changes, right? So Scrum Master responsible to simple create a sprint backlog. For now, just remember the terms. Okay. Scrum Master is responsible to maintain sprint backlog, to decide on priority of the customer. The decision will be taken care by the Scrum Master. Sprint will start. Okay. For every iteration, the entire sprint will begin with the Scrum Master. Means, suppose you have a 30 user story. Obviously, all 30 we are not developing in one shot. So we are going to divide it, right? For this division, what we have learned, division means generally one iteration get decided by the Scrum Master. Remember, one iteration. In technical word or in agile word, it is called sprint. And what is that one iteration? The one iteration, that means one sprint, it is nothing but 1 week to 4 week duration. How much duration we have for one sprint? One sprint mean iteration. Iteration means either 1 week to 4 week you have a duration. Within that duration, some set of stories you will be completing. Got it? So who will decide that? Out of 30, which story you are going to complete it within a one sprint? That decision will be taken care by the Scrum Master. Not only this, the planning part, tracking part, it is also responsibility of a Scrum Master. Daily, whatever meetings are required, basically meetings will be conducted by the Scrum Master. And you know what? There is a daily meeting available in Agile, and that daily meeting is called daily Scrum. Do remember, these are the short interview question. Daily Scrum are nothing but hardly 10-15 minutes meeting will be there on the progress of the project, and that is taken care by the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is the main entity in Agile process who drive the entire Agile methodology or entire Agile process. So first point, how many team member involved? The complete development team, product owner, and the Scrum Master. These three entities you should know very well. Okay, so now point is clear. First of all, process I will be explaining, but before process, what we have discussed, terminology first. Requirement means user story. Big requirement means something which is a requirement or which is a story which we can implement not in one shot, but we have to first divide it into multiple story. And then story by story, we can implement the same. That is called what? Simple, your epic. And then we have seen the different role responsibility. The product owner, he is a kind of customer side person who can communicate with the customer, who can collect all the stories epic from the customer, and he have maintained everything in the product backlog. Once the backlog is ready, agile team is responsible to perform certain planning. Okay, based on planning, scrum master responsible for what? Identify as per the customer priorities some important stories, decide on sprint, how much duration you will take to complete that story, and based on that, sprint will be started by the particular scrum master, right? So scrum master is the main entity who can do planning, tracking, and even you can simple perform or report everything to the scrum master. Meetings will be scheduled by the scrum master, and scrum master is the main entity who can drive the entire agile process. That's it. But now what is agile process? How the scrum framework works? Let's understand that. Okay, so be ready to understand now scrum framework. Guys, in scrum, which is a framework, one of the architecture through which you can design, develop and test high quality application in a shorter time frame. Okay, so within a short time we are able to implement the software, but how it is possible? So complete scrum development or scrum process get divided into three phases. Phase number one. Okay, in phase number one, very first, product backlog will be ready. Now first phase, where product owner, he is responsible, okay, to collect everything from the customer in terms of user stories and epic, and those stories, everything epic will be maintained somewhere in a product backlog. So consider this is your product backlog where the stories got implemented or maintained. So here you will have user story, plus some kind of epic. Okay. So first phase is what? Complete product backlog stage. In product backlog, product owner who can communicate with customer and product owner maintain all the user stories epic in the product backlog. So analyzing of the stories, understanding about that stories, okay, validating the stories, it is done by the product backlog. I mean product owner. Once it is completed, then we can begin with phase number 2. Phase number 2, it is all about planning. Everybody do remember. There are two types of planning that we do. First planning is what? Release planning. After release planning, Agile team is responsible to do sprint plan. So everybody focus. What is planning phase? It is divided into two type of planning. First, what is release planning? Release planning means within how much duration you are going to release the software application. Let's assume we have total 30 story to complete. Okay. We have total duration that is a 3 month. So what duration I'm having to release this entire application? That's the 3 month. So very first Agile team complete the release planning that we have duration, that's the 3 month. And within that duration, we have to release all the 30 user story. Once release planning is completed, there's simple focus on sprint planning. Now sprint planning where Scrum Master, other team member, everybody get involved. So sprint means one sprint, it is equal to 1 week to 4 week duration. Just to remember, W means week. 1 week to 4 week duration. So very first, you have total duration, suppose 3 months. So that complete duration getting divided into multiple iteration. Consider this is what I'm dividing multiple sprint. So let's assume for 3 months, I'm going to design 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprint. And every sprint duration will be 1 week to 4 week. Okay. So whenever sprint planning is decided that, okay, fine, how much duration we will complete or we will take to release the first sprint, second sprint, how exactly they decide this sprint? So here come main point. For every sprint, how many stories you will complete, that decision will be taken care by the Scrum Master. Basically, guys, what will happen in sprint planning? First of all, Scrum Master, as per the priority of the customer, they decide story point for every story. Please understand some technical word. Okay. First of all, Scrum Master takes story point for every story. Means story point, it is again, we can say certain duration we can calculate for a completing every user story. So somewhere that duration may be in hourly basis. Somewhere that story duration will be, day wise basis. Means suppose I'm having first a story to complete login functionality. Okay. So what I can do as a Scrum Master, I can ask every team member how much duration they will need to complete this one user story. Consider I'm having 4 member in my team. So, and we are calculating hourly basis. Okay. So hourly basis means what? Suppose tester A, developer A, tester B, developer B. Okay. I'm having developer tester combination in my team. And then I want to complete this story. So as a Scrum Master, I will take a story point. Means I will take a point from every team member, how much time they need to complete that story. Suppose developer A says that hourly basis I need 4 hours to complete that story. Tester also define, okay, fine, I will also take 5 hours to complete that story. Suppose B says, again, I'm having 5 hours. B here also developer says same 5 hours. So majority wise, what is decided? 5 hours is required minimum to complete that story. So guys, hourly basis also they can decide final story point. So how much time? Story point doesn't mean, it simply means duration. Okay, how much time you will take to complete that story. So somewhere it can be calculated in the organization hourly basis or day wise basis. Means like suppose developer A says I need only 2 days. Okay. Here, all the developer says, no, we need only 1 day. So majority wise, they will decide. Okay. Scrum Master will decide that how much time is enough to complete that story. And that is called story point. Clear? Okay. What is story point? So first of all, Scrum Master takes story point from the every team member, that how much time they need to complete that story. And based on that story point, okay, finally, all the even based on the story point and based on the priority of the customer, whatever committed stories are there. So first is story point, second is priority of the customer. So out of 30, let's say customer says that only 5 requirement is initially important for me. So those 5 committed story, okay, those 4 committed story, what the Scrum Master will do? Scrum Master maintain those committed story in sprint backlog. So guys, Scrum Master is responsible to decide on priority, take the story point as per the given set of stories. He will decide which stories are committed, which stories are important to cover first, and those stories will maintain in sprint backlog. Okay. So sprint backlog, it is always prepared by the Scrum Master. Once the backlog is ready, then actual works for developer tester will begin. So here come developer team plus tester team. They will start their work. So what kind of work? First of all, first step, they will assign the story to each other, right? First of all, assignment happen. Okay, these are the different story. Then on which story will be starting first, which story we are completing first. So assignment they will do. Then developer develop the application. Similarly, at the same time, tester test that application. And this is completely collaboration work. It's not like one by one. They do work collaboratively. Even the best part is customer is also involved in this phase. So as per the changes required from the customer side, we implement the software, we test the software. After sprint backlog, whenever that sprint get completed, means all 5 requirements, suppose within that one sprint we have completed, okay, so we can simply release that application to the customer if customer needed. But sometimes what happens, sprint can be late, means we have decided 5 requirement, 5 stories to complete, but there might be possible within a given duration, suppose you have 3 weeks for completion, and within this duration I'm not able to implement any requirement, so that will be late sprint. That will be late sprint. The sprint can be late if you miss a deadline, but that's okay. If any requirement is late, we can complete it in the next sprint, because we have a different sprint to complete our entire project. Are you getting my point? So first of all, first phase where product backlog get initiated or created by the product owner. He is the main person who can communicate with the customer, who can take all the requirement in the form of user story and the epic from the customer, and he will maintain product backlog. Once the backlog is ready, then agile team comes into the picture. Okay, agile team. And this team is responsible to make planning. First is release planning, second is sprint planning. In release planning, they will decide the criteria that how much duration we have to complete the story. Then in sprint planning, which is a responsibility of a scrum master, here the master will decide within how much duration you will complete the story. Plus out of all the story, which story to be complete first. That decision also taken care by the scrum master. So as per the story point, as per the customer priority, all the committed story, scrum master prepares in sprint backlog. Once the backlogs is ready, developer tester, they can begin their work. That's a phase number 2. After that, we have a last phase to be covered. Phase number 3, which is actually called retrospective review. Do remember? This is our last review process. Retrospective review is very special in Agile. Basically, it is a review which is taken care at the end of every sprint. Okay, so they will decide like whatever problem you might face during completion of that one sprint, same issues you should not focus or you should not face in next sprint. So obviously it is a kind of process improvement. For process improvement, this kind of review happen. Okay. So we have a specialized team to conduct this review because we are not reviewing the product. We are reviewing that whatever the problem you might face during that one sprint, right? And how you can improve the process to develop the software in second sprint. So retrospective review, which is done by the specialized team member, and it is a kind of process improvement. Even during this entire process, Scrum Master takes daily meeting. Scrum Master takes daily meeting, and that is called daily Scrum. So daily Scrum, it is hardly 10-15 minutes meeting, which is conducted by the Scrum Master, and where he can decide, okay, they will have a discussion within a team. They will have a discussion what the what is their current task, what is their today's work, what they have completed yesterday, and what they are going to implement tomorrow, right? So today, yesterday, tomorrow, on that, on the task completion, they will have this meeting, and that is called daily Scrum. So this is how every day for every sprint they are able to track the progress of the project. And that's the reason it is very, what we can say, this entire life cycle, entire framework, it's a very standard framework. So that's the reason within a short time frame, team is able to responsible, or team able to release the application to the customer as per their customer need. And this entire process is called Scrum framework. So guys, I would like to show you one video. Just have a look. So you will understand more and more in depth what is a Scrum. Okay, so just have a look. I'm sharing the audio too. Just a minute. Just tell me you are able to hear.
Hi, this is me. My name is Hamid.
Yes, na? Audible, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's see.
Chojai, and I've been involved with a number of software development projects over the years at a number of different companies, and I've come to recognize Scrum as one of the best agile development practices in use today. In this fast-paced video, I want to show you why Scrum is so great and how you can get started with Scrum in under 10 minutes. I'll cover all the core Scrum concepts like product backlogs, team roles, sprints, burndown charts, and more. So get ready to be bombarded with information. Let's say this is the product we want to build. For this product, we get all kinds of feature requests from customers, executives, or even other team members. In Scrum, features are written from the perspective of the end user. Therefore, features are known as user stories. The collection of all these user stories is called the product backlog. Another way to think of the product backlog is to think of it as a wish list of all the things that would make this product great. Once we have our wish list, or the product backlog, we need to start planning which specific user stories we're going to be putting into a particular release of our product. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back up a bit. To build this product, we need to have one or more people in our team who are going to play a variety of roles. First, we need her. She plays the role of product owner and helps make sure the right features make it into the product backlog, representing the users and customers of the product. She helps set the direction of the product. Then we need this guy. He's the Scrum Master, and his job is to make sure the project is progressing smoothly and that every member of the team has the tools they need to get their job done. He sets up meetings, monitors the work being done, and facilitates release planning. He's a lot like a project manager, but that's such a boring title, so we'll call him a Scrum Master to imply he knows some jujitsu. And the rest of the team has similar roles to other development processes. These guys build the product, while these guys test it to make sure it works right. These guys use it and hopefully pay for it. And these guys, they generally get in the way, but it turns out you can't build many products without them. But let's get back to this, release planning. To plan a release, the team starts with this, the product backlog, and they identify the user stories they want to put into this release. These user stories then become part of the release backlog. The team then prioritizes the user stories and estimates the amount of work involved for each item. Sometimes larger user stories are broken down into smaller, more manageable chunks. The collection of all the estimates provides a rough idea of the total amount of work involved to complete the entire release. A quick side note about estimates. There are a lot of techniques for creating good estimates. Some prefer estimating in story points, where estimates are made relative to building a small component with a known level of difficulty. Unfortunately, story points don't answer the question of, when will my project ship? I've found that the best technique is to estimate work in hours, but to use some standards in how estimates are done. For example, things that take less than a day to complete will be estimated as 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, or 8 hours. Every item will fall into one of those buckets. There will be no 3-hour estimates, for example. A 3-hour item would fall into the 4-hour bucket. Larger items will be estimated as 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, or 10 days. Again, all estimates in between will fall into the next larger bucket. Extremely large items are similarly estimated in months, 1, 2, 3, or 6 months. But the reality is that such items will need to be broken down substantially before work actually begins. We'll come back to these estimates in just a minute. But for now, let's get back to this, the release backlog. With a prioritized set of user stories and the estimated amount of work at hand, we're now ready to plan out several sprints to get the work done. Sprints are short-duration milestones that allow teams to tackle a manageable chunk of the project and get it to a ship-ready state. Sprints generally range from a couple of days to as much as 30 days in length, depending on the product's release cycles. The shorter the release cycles, the shorter each sprint should be. And you'll want to have at least 2 to as many as a dozen sprints in a given release. So at this point, we can take our release backlog and split it up into several of these, sprint backlogs. One of the most important things to remember about sprints is that the goal of each sprint is to get a subset of the release backlog to a ship-ready state. So at the end of each sprint, you should have a fully tested product with all the features of the sprint 100% complete. Since sprints are a very short but a realistic representation of part of the product, a late finish of the sprint is a great indicator that the project is not on schedule and something needs to be done. Therefore, it's extremely important to monitor the progress of each sprint with this, a burndown chart. The burndown chart is the #1 reason for Scrum's popularity and one of the best project visibility tools to ensure a project is progressing smoothly. The burndown chart provides a day-by-day measure of the amount of work that remains in a given sprint or release. In this graph, you can see that the amount of work remaining bounces up and down from day to day, but is generally trending towards 0. Because historical information is provided in the burndown chart, it's easy to see if the team is on the right track. Using the burndown chart, the team can quickly calculate this, the slope of the graph, which is also called the burndown velocity. This is the average rate of productivity for each day. For example, a team's rate of productivity might be that on a typical day they finish approximately 50 hours of work. Knowing that, it's possible to calculate an estimated completion date for the sprint, or even for the entire release based on the amount of work remaining. What's great about the burndown chart is that we can compare our actual velocity and projected completion date to what the team needs to do in order to finish on time. This is perhaps the most useful piece of knowledge that any team member, product owner, or product executive can have about the project. Because knowing whether or not the project is on track early in the schedule can help teams make the proper adjustments necessary to get the project on track. The burndown chart provides empirical proof that the project is on track or if it's going to be late. So let's talk a little about where the data for this incredibly useful burndown chart comes from. As you recall, part of the release planning process was to create an estimate for each user story in the release backlog. The collection of these estimates for a given sprint represents the total amount of work that must be done to complete that sprint. As each team member goes through and makes progress on one or more of the user stories, they simply update the amount of time remaining for each of their own items. So the total amount of time remaining on the group of user stories that make up a sprint changes on a day-by-day basis, hopefully going downward until it hits 0 when the sprint is complete. The burndown chart aggregates the remaining work data and shows it visually. It's brilliant because it communicates a massive amount of information in just a few seconds. And that brings us to this, the daily scrum. The daily scrum is an essential tool to having communication flow freely between team members. The idea is to have fast-paced, stand-up meetings where team members quickly list the work they have completed since the last meeting and any obstacles in their way. By meeting daily, it ensures the team is always in sync and any major issues are dealt with as soon as they are known. Finally, as each sprint comes to a finish, it's important to have a sprint retrospective meeting where the team can reflect on what went right and areas of improvement. After all, Scrum is a flexible, agile development method that needs constant improving and tweaking for every team. So there you have it, Scrum in under 10 minutes. You now know all the essential concepts.
So basically, in this process, what they have discussed, like how exactly we do work in a real time, right? And what about that burn down chart? What is that? So basically, every day, how they are able to track their work. how much they have completed within a given time period. So just remaining work they can track with the help of burn down chart. Similarly, completed work they can simple track with the burn up chart. So we have this metrics in Agile, okay? And do not worry, that metrics also will be covering. So here you will understand first Scrum, then we will discuss strength, weakness, and here you can see that the burn down chart and burn up chart. What is the main difference? The burn up defines how much work has been completed and how much it is remaining. That you will get to know because of burn down. And then we will have a discussion on what is the difference in traditional and agile approach. And we will continue this entire theoretical concept tomorrow. But today, we have just understood what is a Scrum framework. So Scrum is a very popular framework in Agile, where the process will goes on with these three different phases: product backlog creation, planning, and the last one is retrospective meeting, which is retrospective review. I hope this point is clear. So whenever you are explaining Scrum framework, all these points are important to add. What is a daily Scrum? Okay. Then who is responsible to prepare a sprint backlog? Who is responsible to complete that product backlog? Right. These, what type of plannings are there? Release planning, sprint planning. Right. Sprint means what? One iteration. And one iteration defines how much duration? 1 week to 4 week. That is within 1 month, or maybe somewhere in a weekly wise also. We can develop and release the application to the customer. The best part is in Agile, we do collaborative work, means group work will be there. So customer, developer, BA, tester, everybody they work together. So as soon as we get a feedback from the customer, we make a change and we can release the product to the customer if customer need. So there is a possibility. After one sprint also we can release a product, or we can release a product at the end. Depends on the need, depends on the requirement of the customer. So again guys, video you will not understand in one shot, right? Go for this recording again and then you will understand what is Scrum and how come you can explain Scrum process within a 10 minutes. Okay, is this clear? Tomorrow again, I will start with the same topic. What is Scrum? And some theoretical points we will complete. Yeah. Is this clear, everybody? Yeah, understood.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just go for it one more time because this is important. All the other methodology that is important for interview perspective. But Agile is the main where you will understand in real time how to work, right? So this at least process you should be very clear. How exactly Scrum process works in Agile? What is this framework? Okay. Just go for one more time recording and the documentation. If still you have a doubt and everything, we will discuss again tomorrow. So that's all for the day. Let's stop the session. Bye everyone. Take care. Thank you.